Zeus and Oner by a country mile. Like, it is massive. Like, how much these players all impact their teams. As now it is time to get into the draft here for game number 1. Time to figure it out. See which of these Telecom teams is going to come out on top. As the Varus is going to be banned away first, the Yone to be taken off the board here. Yone kind of a quizzical ban for the red side. Maybe T1 with some tricks up their sleeve.
Interesting to think about. But yeah, Taliyah coming through, not too uncommon. I think the priority for Taliyah has risen a decent amount. You know, there was picks like Ari, Azir, definitely high priority. But this potentially makes me think KT might go for that Azir first pick in this situation. So we'll see T1 end up banning it third. Right now, the Clister's still up and available. But also, I was going to say no top lane is banned. When now gone, Jace still available. So T1, do you ban Jace, do you ban Azir? Do you leave them both open? Do you ban Clister and look to trade? We'll see what they opt for in this situation. They ban Clister.
Oh, but now, so this is really interesting, right? Because I feel like KT very happy to pick something like an Azir, but the Xin Zhao is also up. So Oner can get arguably his best champion, but Rumble is also there. Huge scream from the crowd here as BDD is going to lock in his signature champion, which is also Faker's signature champion, along with a lot of other champions that I think he's allowed to have a lot of signatures given the fact that he is the GOAT by a decent margin.
I think, do you just go, I was going to say, Jace Xin Zhao in this situation, but instead of opting for Rumble Xin Zhao, so KT will presumably take the Jace side off the matchup and maybe look to secure their jungler as well. With Xin Zhao gone, we've seen often the tank, you could pick a tank jungle trait, you could pick Neferi, but instead going for the Jhin, denying that away from Guma, and then going for the Galio into the Rumble instead of the Jace. But obviously we've seen this matchup quite a few times, pretty solid into it, and also just the skirmishing power, very effective.
This opens the door for a Cuz Viego angle as well. It's what it kind of feels like to me.
I mean, you could. I'm not so convinced it's the right call, but you could go the Viego.
He was very good on the champion.
He was.
I agree with you. The Paperman situation is still definitely a thing.
Ari comes in for Faker in this situation.
Faker's signature champion.
Oh, their signature, yeah. T1 pretty happy with the top side in this situation. And now KT have the opportunity to ban away AD carries if they want to, having secured their own, but looking instead at the support role. They've taken away Rakan with the Poppy ban. I think it was, you know, potentially freeing up Keria to take that. I think an Alistair ban final would be pretty good for KT.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I think T1 probably wanting to pick support last, so getting rid of the sort of just generally very strong champions is probably a good idea. Neferi, though, is going to go away, so no doggos for Cuz.
I think a good ban, and then here, I think KT you have to ban out. We've seen so much Alistair on 4. I think ban that away. And now with the fact that Alistair's gone, I think T1, you just take an AD carry here and go for kind of pick and support.
What's going to be here for Gumayusi? Maybe, do they just pick Xayah? They could do that. The Rakan banned away, though, does make it feel less appealing.
Yeah, I'm not as convinced of Xayah into this KT composition.
Oh, the Lucian.
Looking instead to pick up the Lucian, yeah. So, potential for like a Lucian Braum if KT pick just a standard engaged champion like Nautilus or Leona. So we'll see what they opt to go for here. Still need to secure their jungler, though. And we've seen... You know, there's still like the Sejuani, the Skarner up, which we haven't been as convinced by. Sorry, the Skarner we haven't been convinced by. Sejuani's been pretty strong. But it looks like it might just be that Viego.
Yeah.
If you are going the Viego, I feel like you need an engaged support to set up. They will lock in the Rel first. And that gives you setup kind of for your Galio as well, looking obviously ult in on top. Will they just go for the Viego is the question. I
mean, I think it just feels like what Cuz would do. I don't know whether it's a good thing. It just, as soon as I saw the Galio lock in, I'm like, oh, Cuz has got an angle where he can argue that there's a tank in the top lane, so I can play Viego. And that is what he's going to do here. Locks it away.
I personally think like a Wukong or a Pantheon would have gone pretty hard in this situation.
There's the brand.
And the Braum comes through to pair with the Lucian. I think out of the engaged supports available, I think Rel was a good pickup because I think Leona and Nautilus have a waste.
Yes, here we go. Happy Children's Day, everyone. And we'll see whether these fine young gentlemen can come away with a win. See which ones are going to do so. Let's get into it.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
My goodness, I think that was the first time in my entire life that I've heard a KT chant be louder than a T1 chant. And I can't even blame being on a certain side of LoL Park because there is no one else in here. It is just us, so it's just Suwon and those microphones. Maybe the microphone was closer to the KT side. Maybe there's something slanderous going on.
There was a lot of KT fans there.
There was definitely a lot of KT fans there, which makes sense. KT is hosting, obviously. It is the KT homecoming in Suwon, the LCK Roadshow.
I think somebody said for the KT composition is they have a pretty solid range advantage over T1. So I think if T1 do start to fall behind, it becomes difficult to find angles in, especially because in terms of engage, it's
Engage Brawn, baby.
Yeah, not as convinced by that. So I think, honestly, coming out of draft, I think both teams have ways to play, ways to find advantages. I think maybe for me, KT actually has a bit of an edge, but we'll see how it ends up playing out.
The problem for me is that it feels like there's a lot of comfort for T1. I think a lot of people have had some criticism of Doran's Rumble, but we know that he is very happy to play it regardless. And so with Oner and Faker on Ari Zinzao, that's where I'm seeing a lot of strength for T1. If Oner has a good champion, generally you feel pretty good.
I think that's the main thing as well. We talked about the Oner-Cuz matchup, how Cuz needs to have a really good game, really good series. Oner and Zinzao, with how powerful this pick has been, definitely something to be feared.
Yeah. And see, Dr. I'm taking a lot of piercing lights, but not getting hit by the Winter's Bites, which is very, very important. Both teams making it to level 2 at the same time. You can feel that they're getting antsy, though. See whether anything more is going to happen. Really good use of the Q from Gumayusi to make sure he's getting as much poke damage down in this lane. And even the player cams, the children now, oh my goodness. And I love that we get the most obvious ones as well, the Peter Carriers.
Yeah.
What is it with support players and not necessarily changing that much as they grow up?
I don't know, you gotta look into it. I mean, you know, I'm a support player.
Yeah, what did you look like as a baby?
Maybe you'll get to see later today.
Did you still have the beard when you were born?
I did not.
Ah, okay. So that would be a difference.
Yeah, that would be a difference.
For me, I was bright blonde when I was a kid. Yeah, like full golden hair.
Wow.
I was a cute little boy, and then something went wrong. Having a look there, of course, Azir getting the better end of this matchup so far, as Faker going aggressive after clearing out the wave. BDD dodging the charm. There you go. There's the Roadshow buff.
Oh, actually, Faker could be in trouble.
No, stun comes through from Cuz. And even if Faker doesn't die here, this is really problematic. Still, a lot of damage coming on through. Charm going to connect, and Faker does make it out. Still going to have to blow that teleport a little bit early. And Oner actually sneaking in here. We'll be able to take the crab.
I think, honestly, it could be a lot worse. The fact that he still has TP, and the fact that BDD is very low on mana. BDD is probably going to shove this in and reset. And actually, Oner's showing up to try and help us out. I think BDD is completely fine here.
Yep.
He's in Azir. But this essentially ensures Faker has a pretty chill reset and has that TP available. In fact, I think Oner's actually, is he going to help him push the wave out? Or is, yeah, I think so. So if Oner is able to come in and kind of rescue the wave state after that fierce gank from Cuz, Faker will TP back in, and ultimately, as close as it was, Faker fine after that gank regardless.
Actually okay. Sometimes, if the jungler comes in and just does a lot of damage to your mid laner, it can be problematic. Thankfully, able to mitigate it.
It's the type of gank I hate the most, you know? When
yeah, we've spoken about this one before.
It always bothers me. The worst is when it's like a Nidalee and like she comes in the lane with red buff and she misses the spear and just autos you 4 times.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, get out of here.
Yep, stop it, you silly cat. As top side of the map, casting actually doing pretty well in this matchup. As we know, the Galio has been picked quite a lot into the Rumble in recent times. And that is doing exactly that, at least for the moment. As Faker pushing out yet another wave, teleports in from both of our mid laners. Great sidestep there from BDD once again. Gets a gasp from the crowd. I feel like this mid lane matchup is definitely going to be the one the crowd is going to be most excited about. As Faker throwing a little Q the wrong direction.
Yeah, just calibrating, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes you just need to throw that orb away. That orb wasn't the good one.
If there's a Teemo behind him, then he would have hit him.
Is BDD actually there, or is he an apparition? Because he's just not being hit by skill shots.
That last one looked a little. That last one looked a little suspicious. Maybe a little high ground, low ground, even though that doesn't really apply there. But
yeah,
gotta get the excuses out of the way.
We need to talk to Ewan McGregor about it. That guy knows about high ground and stuff.
He absolutely does. He's the expert.
Yeah. Did that come out in Korea as well? Wonder if we could go and see Revenge of the Sith.
We could find this out.
Yeah. The 20th anniversary or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Star has been around for a while. Okay, KT now switching their bottom lane towards the top side. Grub's going to be coming up relatively soon. Gumayusi continuing to get value with that piercing light. There's Cuz on spawn. Ready to get over here, make something happen. Peter, will he be able to clear out this control ward? That's the question.
Well, I mean, he might have been able to, but Dr. probably would have died if he did, so...
Yeah.
We end up seeing a situation where one Grub picked up for Cuz, so he's happy just to walk away. Lucian putting some pressure down onto the Jhin.
Doran actually taking a lot of damage in this matchup, but still hasn't really translated to any sort of farm lead or anything like that, as Dr. does get a back off. He completes his serrated dirt and will be running back towards this lane. Oner with a couple of grubs after the first was secured by Cuz. So no real big advantages being taken yet, but T1 have naturally moved to about a 500 gold lead, with a large amount of that being on Gumayusi and the amount of power that him and Keria have had in this bottom lane matchup that is now on the top side of the map.
Yeah, we're able to force that reset from Dr. there and able to pick up some extra waves as a result, so he has an advantage. They're also actually invading here to steal away the blue, but I think Cuz isn't too bothered. He will just pick up the dragon in return.
Yep.
The fact that you got that one grub from the first set, you got the dragon, I think he's pretty happy with how things panned out. And it being an ocean dragon, you know, not often talked about. We've been a lot more focused on souls, I feel, but the first dragon ocean does actually have a decent impact in lanes for extra sustain.
Yep, because you're actually laning at that point in time, which is pretty handy. So first dragon gonna go down. There's some partying going on in Suwon as well at the same time. You absolutely love that. Really does. It has that, like, the baseball, basketball vibe. Not that I've ever been to, like, one of those basketball games before, but I imagine it's got, like, a similar feel.
I did go to a baseball game in Korea.
Yeah, I missed that one.
And I can vouch.
Yep.
You know, just the vibes, the upbeat music, you know, the chants and stuff like that.
And we know that, at least for KT on a prior roster, they had their players go to a baseball game as well, because they were there doing, like, they joined in with the cheerleaders, and it was very funny.
Yes, that was peak.
Yep, very, very good. So now doing their own sort of thing, as BDD was there, Deft was there as well. I'm pretty
Feral.
Yep, it was very cute stuff. All right, Doran still looking to try and cook Casting a little bit here. Casting probably should have used the chicken skin, because he's getting cooked so much here in this lane. As Cuz moving on down. Let's see whether Doran's going to be okay. Taunt comes through. Winds of War are down, but Cuz unable to find any extra damage. We'll have to back away. Peter on the verge of being stunned up by the concussive blows, but is otherwise going to be okay. And Gumayusi every time is hitting with these Qs. Moves behind the minions as Dr. so he's going to stay alive for the moment. But this is definitely T1 utilizing their advantage very, very well here on the top side. It's okay.
Keria
One
just
play.
kind of being very annoying whenever the grenade comes in, just shielding it. You know, it's not really, like, it's not that much damage, but just constantly doing that every time just means they're not getting pressure back in return. And you can see constantly Dr. and Peter just on the back foot in this lane matchup. You know, already almost a 600 gold lead in favor of Guma with no kills.
Well, BDD almost naturally able to grab himself a plate, but not quite able to.
I thought you were going to say a 1 gold lead.
Yeah, he does have a 1 gold lead.
Yeah.
That is there. He could have almost made it a 100 gold lead, but wasn't able to. Now is able to extend it a little bit because he's able to get the shove in, but a teleport from Faker will bring him all the way back. BDD with his teleport coming up as well, as they're on the same timer.
And it is going to be the Rod of Ages for the Ahri. We've seen a little bit of a move away from this with people going more damage-focused builds. I will say, though, the Catalyst is pretty solid in lane, and considering it's been a little bit rough going up against the Azir so far, I think maybe that could be a reason for it, or maybe just appreciating that bulkiness when we do get to those fights.
Yep. I do respect it. Does mean that the Liandry's that BDD is building first is going to find a little bit more value.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That is okay. Casting back into lane. And no real advantages picked up from anywhere. So I guess what we need to talk about is when these teams are going to be strong. And I feel like T1 right now is looking like a good moment as Faker wants to catch up and pick up Peter. Deadly Flourish doesn't find the mark though, and I think this Rel is just dead. Teleport to come in from the Rumble. There's a teleport also from the Galio that doesn't quite work out, but that Blast Cone is working out here, and Doctarm looking to try and turn this. Good knock-up onto Doran there as the heroic entrance comes through, and now the taunt will set up for the 4th bullet. Doran's still alive for so long as they take down the Galio. They get rid of the Viego as Gumayusi is caught and thrown in under the turret, but they're unable to kill him. Faker is still at such high health, and BDD hits the floor. T1 walk away the huge victors in this fight, and Peter still wanting a little bit more off the back end. Don't think they're going to quite find it as Deadly Flourish, actually. Let's see whether Doctarm can do anything as Oner going in one more time. Dancing Grenade value going to be pretty high, but not high enough as Peter hits the deck as well.
And so many low health bars, the difference that there could have been if Cuz was able to survive a bit longer, get those resets. It could have been a clean sweep for KT after just the loss of their Rel, but you can see they kind of got baited in by those low health bars.
Yeah, look at Gumayusi now. He's 4-0-1, but let's have a look at this fight and how it all happened.
Yeah, so Peter, he kind of tries to turn this into a fight, but he just ends up going down before anyone's really able to respond. They back away, and you can see they're trying to chase down the Jhin, trying to get Doctarm. But it's at this point, the Galio comes in, they're in this like alleyway for the Jhin to get so much value. And I think, unfortunately, Cuz just goes in a bit too soon, gets focused down immediately by Guma, by Oner. And imagine this fight if that Viego was still alive. You know, it's a great shot block from PDD to get him under the tower, but again, they see the low health bars. They're thinking, hey, we can finish them off, and they just keep getting baited in again and again.
And the Braum value is so high. It just feels like one at a time they're getting concussive blows destroyed, concussive blows destroyed over and over. As this was just a bridge too far there for KT, wanting to find something in amongst it.
I also think getting baited a good amount by some of the healing that like the Xin Zhao and the Ahri have in their kits and with the items, but yeah, I mean,
Soul
big fight win
as well.
Oh yeah, definitely ups the ante on those dragons being stacked up. Yeah, 4-0-1 Lucian already is a big problem.
I would say so. And KT did have some anti-Lucian things, you know, that they could utilize to mitigate it. He's relatively low range. They have catching him as he's walking towards the brush, as Magnus Storm is going to pull him ever further. Cuz looking for an angle there. Gumayusi just dashes his way out. Remember, didn't have flash after being shoved under the turret previously.
I mean, I think like the angle Peter found was good, but like you need follow-up, and when the only follow-up is the Jhin who wasn't even that close.
Oh, that equalizer positioning absolutely fantastic there by Doran as Cuz not quite able to do anything. Is Peter going to close in on Keria, but they lose their Galio already. The curtain has been called as Gumayusi taking a bit of damage because just having to get out of there. BDD wanting to be the hero finds the Emperor's Divide and they take down the Lucian. Shutdown comes in and now Cuz has turned into a very, very powerful AD carry. It's just not quite enough to be able to get anything else done, and T1 still walk away feeling better.
Yeah, I mean, I think BDD's trade to get a shutdown onto the Lucian was worth it, but still a favorable play for T1, and it feels like they're just finding advantage after advantage in these skirmishes, playing around the power of these auto-attackers with the Braum. You can see Oner 3-0 and Guma 4-1. These two really the driving forces of these fights. And here, look how confident T1 are. They know they can just start this. The equalizer placements, beautiful casting, slowed so heavily. And then they try and focus on a Keria, but it's a Braum.
Yeah, he showed them the door.
That he did. And BDD goes in here. Again, I think the trade is fine, given that you do get a shutdown. But they were obviously hoping for more. They were hoping, hey, we get the reset Lucian, Cuz can make something happen. But Oner and Doran just too threatening for you to go into.
Yep, not even able to secure the blue buff as well, as Oner was able to collect that for T1. As Cuz back at it again. And the gold leads starting to really stack up here for T1, moving towards 3,500 gold at 14.5 minutes is no small amount. And this comp is going to feel more and more difficult to play into, at least for the next little while. Yes, we've mentioned things about KT having decent range and things like that, but I don't know whether the DPS necessarily gets too difficult to deal with later on in the game with an Azir composition such as this with a Jhin.
I think as well, you know, we talked about maybe the lack of engage for T1, but when your Xin Zhao can just charge in an E onto people, and there's just no counterplay because he's fed enough to be tanky.
Yeah.
The game becomes really difficult. There needs to be more threat from KT, and with how behind they are right now, it is looking rough.
It is not looking too good. However, when there are road shows like this, miracles can indeed happen. And let's see whether one of those is indeed going to be afoot here today. Is KT looking to even out the Void Grubs? We don't have any feats of strength outside of the feats of warfare that T1 have put together so far, so still looking for first turret and still looking for these objectives. This is not going to get anything for anyone though,
yeah,
as they've shared.
Turret likely to go down in the bot lane any second, so T1 should be able to secure those. I think Doran is just denying farm as best he can.
Right, there it goes.
It is
Cool new shoes now put together for T1.
Yeah, not a huge advantage, but it just adds to the big advantage that T1 already has with a 4,000 gold lead. And I think right now, both sides kind of have their first item completed. I think the real big pain point is when second items start to come in for members of T1. That's when you really start to feel behind in the game.
Yeah. KT still, they have a lot of wombo potential. I feel like there is some of these like big moment opportunities for a composition like this. If they can get Peter into a good position, find a Magnet Storm, get that first kill, could be absolutely huge. But I'm starting to feel like T1 are looking a little more like their old selves rather than some of the woes that we've been seeing in some other matches.
Definitely feeling locked in this
Yes.
telecom war. Wanting to get the most out of it. And I think next Dragon in 30 seconds, I think if you're KT, you're happy just to give that one up. You know, see if you find a window, sure, but I think the mistake would be just trying to hard contest it. The fact that T1 only have one Dragon gives you a lot of time to work with, just to farm up and avoid interacting too much.
I'm a little bit worried about the whole Hextech Soul situation, as Cuz looking for a potential gank onto Faker, but instead he just finds the entirety of T1 and dies. The Galio comes in, Gumayusi will get knocked up, Peter's alongside him, Emperor's Divide picks up Guma, but he dashes his way out, he looks like he's going to be safe as Doctorm actually flashing in to get on top of him. The Equalizer does a lot of damage, but so does BDD. Faker trying to get out of there, Doctorm, he needs another bullet, but does not have it. And KT now just running for the hills. In the meantime, Oner is just destroying KT's stuff.
Not the person you typically expect to be split pushing, but Oner will do what he does in a fix. And I think KT, just too many resources invested to try and kill that Lucian.
Yeah.
With the Viego dead as well, you just don't have the throughput in these longer fights.
Yep, Oner is now going to utilize that time spent on the bottom side to do a lot of damage here to Peter and Casting. Great knock-up with the crash down from Peter. Will keep Casting alive at least as Doran tanks up the turret for a long time. Cuz wanting to make his way in, waste no time as he flashes forward. This could be some resets as Keria puts up the door and Cuz still looking for more, but look at that. It's the concussive blows. It is so difficult for KT to deal with as the bullets coming on through there. Great dash to bait in Casting from Gumayusi. And KT just cannot find an angle.
Nope, they absolutely can't. Too much of a deficit, and as you said, the concussive blows so quick to stack those up. Anyone who goes in is just at risk of being focused down, and here we see Cuz not aware he's on a ward, ends up getting focused down, and you need the Viego alive for these longer fights, because they turn onto Guma, but he survives for such a long time. The shuffle from BDD, I think he should have shuffled in towards Doctorm there, because in the end he has to flash in for him.
Yeah.
Like, Casting solo, BDD solo, yes, BDD's doing damage, but he gets taken out. And again, you don't have the Viego, and you need him in these longer fights. You have that momentum to keep going forwards. Here, though, this is just
this feels a little bit of wallet diff.
Yeah.
The crash down was very nice from Peter there, but Oner actually gets out of turret range, doesn't tank up the last shot that may have been the end of him. And yeah, Doran dies, but the trade, not great.
I think it's one of these situations where baited a bit by the flash, but even if he had ulted Keria, he wasn't going to die. And the turnaround is so quick from the side of T1.
And T1 now just going to be taking away yet another blue buff. This is not going to give it to everyone, as we are not quite late enough in the game for that. The gold lead has moved to about 8,000, as Doctorm still looking for a little bit more, but man, he's got a Zeal and a Ghost Blade. Just feels like he does negative damage at the moment. And Sundisk is going to be put up, and it actually eats a charge there from the Rift Herald, which is kind of cute. Oner going in now, though, as T1 feeling aggressive. This is what you were talking about. Oner can kind of just throw his body in, but does now not have the ultimate for the next fight.
Pretty big resource to take away, but I think T1 could just back away. There's no pressure for them to fight right now.
Popcorn chickens forecasting.
The fact that the TP was committed by the Galio here, I'm kind of a little bit concerned because I see pings coming out. This is one of these situations where like, hey, we committed TP. I guess we just have to do the Atakan, right? No. No!
But what if you just did? Oh no, Cuz actually walking over vision that was provided by minions as well.
Do you know how many KT fans are in that building? Max, this can't happen!
Well, it might just be set up as there's a shattering strike. Okay, Oner taking a lot of damage. Heartbreaker comes forward. Cuz is now another jungler as he looks to get on top of Keria. Great knock-up just to interrupt. And now the resets fly through. Doran, though, gets the equalizer down. BDD is going to greet him as Deadly Flourish will go wide. Look at how low these health bars are as the Atakan is looking terrifying. And that is 2.5k kills for BDD. Congratulations. It's still a really hard game.
Yeah, I mean, thank God they stepped away from the Atakan. I really thought they were going to keep on it for a moment there. They turn, they get a good kill on the Oner, they get a kill on the Keria too. But this was a scary situation to be put into. The setup from Peter's pretty good. They managed to find Oner and just about kill him. And then we get this knock-up coming in from Cuz that interrupts Keria's dash, which is pretty nice. But the equalizer comes in, and look how low everyone is. I was so worried.
Oh yeah, I thought that they were cooked from this point, but not quite able to get in there as KT now back at it again.
Doran?
It worked out really well last time, Orcs.
Doran went second item Rabadons.
Okay.
Which is...
Well, he's got a mask and a hat. He's ready for the Masquerade Ball.
Yes, you know, I mean, it's not the first time I've seen this Rumble build, but it's a very confident
It is
build.
Very confident, as BDD is going to get charmed. Oh, Faker. That's beautiful. Emperor's Divide does absolutely nothing. BDD eats a lot of resources to stay alive, but will, in fact, do so.
He does have TP.
Yeah, does have Flash as well, but Emperor's Divide going to be down for a little while now as the Atakan being pinged out by both sides.
There's a ward on it at the top, which hasn't been spotted, so KT have information if it gets started up. And I think because of that, they can approach a little bit slower. There's also the Hex Gate we saw Keria just take there, so you can use that to navigate around.
Oh, pretty cute to use it there as T1 were setting up for a bit of a trap.
And you know they're not doing it. You don't need to clear this ward.
Well, they do clear it. They take a harpoon.
Game.
We'll be okay.
You know why I love this play where they put a ward? So they already had this ward in place, right?
Yep.
It gave them enough information. I love that they placed the ward over the wall next to their control ward to be like, hey, we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
We definitely don't have it warded, by the way.
That's actually very cute.
As long as that ward is up, then, you know, they have the information they need.
Oh,
and T1 might think, oh, the only ward they have is that shallow one next to the wall, so...
Well, right now, T1 not going to be doing anything rash, like starting an Atakan or anything like that. This Doctor going to get charmed. Does cleanse it, but I don't know whether he's going to be able to cleanse what Faker's going to do to him.
Or you could see...
The answer is he walks away and he's fine.
A little bit more damage. I think Doran just throws the equalizer down.
Yeah.
This is the signal, though, they can go for this. Now, it is a Jhin, and there is Hex Gate. You don't need to be right there to be contributing in a fight, but the rest of the team needs to make something happen quickly.
Yep. Casting can always get in if someone does decide to go for an engage. That looks like it's going to be Peter. Let's see whether he can get the angle as Cuz going to get blocked off. The equalizer, great position to keep the Viego out as Peter is actually out of there. He steals a heal! How the heck did he even get in? He's going to withdraw as well, and I think that KT will say, Worth, you do not need to fight. You do not need to fight. They do just back away. They say thanks for the buff.
Great steal there from Cuz, comes in and clutches it. And again, he gets recalled. He's the only one to go down. And now KT, maybe with the confidence to look towards this dragon, I will say risky.
Yes.
Definitely risky in this situation.
They are incredibly far behind still. And yes, that was a great steal. But if they had have stuck around, they would have all died. As Casting, Peter and Dr. in this brush. BDD going to move on over. Emperor's Divide back in hand.
You know, the buff doesn't make you any stronger. It just means that you don't suffer as much if you die.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit concerned for KT right now, but...
Are you sure? Because I've seen our players play as, okay, this is looking a bit stronger. Doran is just dead. He had no equalizer, of course, so at least it's not that T1 weren't able to utilize it, but now they will be able to collect themselves the dragon and incrementally KT are finding little advantages to bring them back into this game.
Definitely gives you a confidence boost.
Peter's dead. Well, he's not dead. Emperor's Divide is going to deliver Oner as well. Let's see what they can find here as he's dueling against Kuz. Oner able to flash out, though, denies the reset as Keria does fall. Still, it's a gorgeous charm there from Faker, who's just keeping control of this Galio, and everyone is going to be withdrawing. And yeah, T1 still very strong, guys.
Yeah, so as I said, the buff doesn't make you any stronger. I think KT just managed to experience that firsthand. This is a great pick, great setup though. You see they clear out the ward in this brush, and Casting just finds this angle, the quick flash taunt onto Doran, doesn't even find an opportunity to react to that with a flash. And then they get the dragon, and then they opt to stay.
Well, it's not even, it's more of just they opt to walk into darkness.
Yeah.
Suboptimal. Keria here, beautiful defense onto Oner, and Oner playing it right on the edge. I do think a lot of this was to do with T1 just playing better in this moment, but KT didn't really need to be there.
They did not. They did not. And, you know, it is a 6,000 gold lead still.
Yep.
They've bought time by getting that dragon and the Arakan. And you're going to use that time to engage onto a Braum.
Yep, we're going to fight more as Keria uses the ultimate. They get the flash out of him as well as the curtains are being called. And Gumayusi will be able to avoid most of them.
They don't still have the Arakan buff. I think they need to understand that. And
well, as you said, Orcs, it doesn't actually provide them with any damage, anything like that. So they're still just as strong as when they were forcing fights before.
Oh no!
As Faker is going in, does have another charge of the Spirit Rush. Is wondering when to use it. Does find the charm here under Casting as Oner setting up for it. That is a Justice Punch as Casting trying to get himself out of there. The culling will cut him down though, and down goes BDD as well. It's a double for Gumayusi. As KT trying to find some follow-up kills as the charm this time will go wide, despite the fact that Faker has been so incredibly accurate with that ability so far today. And now it's Baron time.
I think KT, honestly, the fact they got the Arakan steal, they got that dragon, they bought themselves time, and they used that time just to funnel into T1 and die. And I just don't understand it. I feel like they'd really put themselves in a position where, as much as the game wasn't in a good spot, it wasn't fully cooked yet. And then they opt in to just... I don't know what the thought process is here. I guess they wanted to secure the blue buff. That was vitally important, apparently. But even here, you know, they could have gotten out. They had ample opportunity to get out, and they're just hanging around like they're waiting for a charm to hit.
Yeah, and it did. And then Casting died. And look at the equalizer placement as well. It's like fighting in these choke points. Often it feels great if you've got a Jhin composition, but you're against a Rumble! And that means that it's going to feel a whole lot more difficult.
Yeah. So
T1 have Baron.
Yes, they are 8,000 gold ahead. 8,500.
Yep. Faker might be close to dying as Heartbreaker comes forward. He flashes, he dashes, and Faker is out of there.
Yep. So I mean, they've been some resources, pretty nice, and I think taking a window like that, pretty good. But ultimately, Baron's still available. Faker doesn't die. He's going to be able to TP back in if they want to keep the pressure up. And
KT, it's like they don't think that they're weaker or anything. They just want to keep fighting.
Yeah, they're just oblivious to the concept of, you know, often teams are like, okay, the AD carries a whole item on ours.
They don't understand what weakness is, Orcs. That's how it works.
You're so right.
Equalizer goes down. There's a Glacial Fissure as well as Faker. Gorgeous wraparound, and you kill the Viego, and you cut the legs out from under KT. Now they just have to wait. Inner turret does fall down. They invest a bit in order to get it, but they will get so much for that investment. The returns are looking good as they take down the first inhibitor of the game. And T1, this game one, looking definitely like they have it in the bag. Still taking a bit of damage here. BDD does need to be respected. But it looks like that's exactly what T1 are going to do. They will take down this inhibitor turret at the same time as Faker once again throws out the ulti. This time doesn't hit the charm, but he doesn't have to.
So much damage done to the base here. And now they can just back away. Dragon up for 30 seconds. They can probably reset before that with the Barons. And KT's base in a bit of a shambles. Goal lead now over 10,000.
Do you want to hear the cope? I got the cope.
Hit me with it.
So now, KT's lanes are going to be consistently pushing in. They can get farm on their carries.
That's so true, actually.
And they managed to get the most recent Hextech Dragon, and so it's only Soul Point that T1 are able to pick up.
Yes, exactly. So it was all planned.
You need to buy, like, okay, never mind, they are so far away from their base, and now T1 are looking to cut them down once again, casting in an awkward spot. Magnastorm connects onto just Fakers. Now Oner goes in and buys so much space. Casting able to flash his way out, but Oner is able to follow him. Doran goes golden in the nick of time as well, as KT are just losing members one after the other. But BDD finding a huge shuffle. Oh, Gumayusi, my God, the damage is absurd. And BDD is still here. The Sand Soldiers are set up, and he goes golden just in time. But he is the last man, and BDD cannot do it alone. That's what we've been learning this whole year. And T1 will walk forward and finish off game one.
I feel like some of the fights even KT were playing pretty well, but they're just so far behind, and they just opt into every single fight. T1 cool, calm, and collected.
9-1 and 9 for Oner on this Xin Zhao. It is his best champion, and he keeps getting it every series. Nexus goes down, and T1 will be